tag team division across both Raw and SmackDown are in a bit of a weird state. You see, the world tag titles across both brands aren't being used to elevate tag teams or tag team related storylines. Instead, they're being used to elevate existing main event feuds across both brands. And in my opinion, that's leaving the WWE tag team divisions kind of stranded, because they're going out there to have matches without seemingly any real stakes at play. So in today's video, we're gonna analyze every single current active tag team across both Raw, SmackDown, and the men's and the women's division, and we're gonna tier rank their position in the WWE today from Hall of Fame all the way down to trash. Now, there are teams that have significant legacy that you would argue are instant Hall of Fame tag teams. However, we're only analyzing them as they're being used today. So we're actually ignoring their past legacy when it comes to this tier list. And maybe at the end of this, we can really determine if the problem is booking or talent within the tag team division. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're gonna fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, folks, let's jump into the tier list. All right, folks, so here are the different tiers that we're gonna be using for this video. We have the Hall of Fame tier at the very top. These are the tag teams that are being booked the absolute best, in my opinion. These are tag teams that on any given episode of Raw or SmackDown, they could be the main event attraction, and frankly, they should be appearing on PLEs more often. Then we work our way down to the great category, good, meh, and then at the very bottom, we have the trash category. This is reserved for the teams who, frankly, I question their existence in the first place. Speaking of faction, let's start with a faction in the Final Testament from Monday Night Raw. Look, I don't love the storyline that they're involved in, but I have to try and at the very least look at this from a more objective point of view. They are on every episode of Monday Night Raw, which is actually something that you can't say for every tag team on here, because a lot of the tag teams that are on this list are frankly grasping for air to just appear on any episode of Raw and SmackDown. And here's the Final Testament appearing every single week. Do I love the storyline? Not particularly. Do I think that it's just 50-50 booking with them just trading wins back and forth with different variations of members of the New Day? Yes, but I do at the very least have to give them props for not giving up on this storyline and for giving them actual on-screen time. On top of that, they're now in a storyline with the New Day that just added Odyssey Jones, so I'm intrigued. At the very least, I'm intrigued. From a talent point of view, I think that this group is ridiculously talented. I just don't think that they're being used to the best of their abilities, in my opinion. I am shockingly going to put Final Testament in good, considering just how down on them I've been for the past year or so. I mean, I know that they have been together for a year, but the whole Karrion Kross saga for the past year just hasn't necessarily been the best. But look, they've been making strides, so I'm putting them into the good category. Let's look at the Latino World Order, and this picture that I have for them includes Carlito, which actually should go to tell you that we haven't gotten a recent photo of them without Carlito, because they've been just a mess on Monday Night Raw. They rarely appear together. It seems like the only one that's repping LWO these days is Zelina Vega. She's like the only one that comes out on Monday Night Raw with screen time to that entrance theme. People are injured left, right, and center. So ever since they got called up to Monday Night Raw, it's been a complete shit show for the LWO, to the point where I have to argue whether they even should be on this list, because I don't remember the last time that they were together as a team. It's been so damn long. For now, until they get things together, until they start actually creating storylines for the LWO as a group, not just for Zelina Vega and an individual storyline for Rey Mysterio, I have to put the LWO into trash. Frankly, all they are is a nostalgia act based on their name now. Let's look at the Street Profits. Remember when I said earlier in the intro to this video that I wasn't going to be counting legacy? I'm only counting how they're being booked right now. Well, that's partly why I decided to include that, because of course the Street Profits, in my opinion, are a legendary tag team at this point. They're one of the best tag teams that the WWE has had in the past 10 years, but in the past several months, that is just not the case in terms of how they're being used. To be fair, it's partly not their fault. The saga with Bobby Lashley clearly did not work out. At the very least, it did lead to them getting a WrestleMania match, pretty entertaining one at that, with Snoop Dogg on commentary. But ever since then, and really ever since Bobby Lashley went down with injury leading into King of the Ring, the TV time for the Street Profits individually on their own without Bobby Lashley has been few and far between. They've gotten some matches, they have gotten a crack or two at the world titles, but really it's very, very inconsistent. And I do hope that maybe with Bobby Lashley fully out of the picture, they can really focus creatively on just the Street Profits, instead of trying to start something from the ground up that was brand new like the Pride was, because they're struggling right now. So I am going to put them into the meh category, but there is a lot of room to grow for the Street Profits as is. Let's look at two teams that are really intertwined with one another. Let's look at both American Alpha and American Made. They're both created by Chad Gable, and they've both been part of the same storyline. However, it does look like one of these is really being ascended to the top while the other is starting to revert back to the comedic role that they used to play. And that would be American Alpha. Like, they are just not where they were with Chad Gable on the helm. They are now seemingly a bit of an afterthought now that the storyline between American Made and the Wyatt Six has really picked up. They've really been pushed to the side. I still do believe that the things that we've gotten with them over the past several months has been fantastic. So that still really does weigh heavily on me in terms of their booking, but they're barely being used as a tag team. Otis is really the only one that generates a true visceral emotion from people. So I do think that they're on the trajectory down, but just their booking over the last several months holds them into the good category, but barely, because I look, the next couple of months, I don't think are going to be great for American Alpha. Let's talk about their counterpart, American Made, who on the other hand, literally are just off the back of main eventing Monday Night Raw and are involved in one of the most marquee, recognizable feuds of Monday Night Raw right now with Bo Dallas and the Wyatt Six. Look, there's a debate that they should have even been on SummerSlam. So clearly, our mentality on Chad Gable and American Made is pretty high, at the very least in terms of the storylines that they're being involved in. The talent is undeniable between these three guys. I am going to put American Made into the great category, even if they're just 1 week old, but really they've been more than just a 1 week faction. They just really only got the name 1 week ago. Now let's look at the New Day, and frankly, everything that I said about Final Testament, you can kind of say about the New Day, and even things that I said about the Street Profits, you can say about the New Day. If we were just talking about historic tag teams, New Day goes to the very top of this list at Hall of Fame, but it just hasn't been a Hall of Fame worthy run for them over the last couple months. But again, just like the Final Testament, at least they're being used. At least they're in a storyline. Whether you like that storyline or not really depends on the individual. I'm somebody that hasn't loved it, but they did make waves across the world of professional wrestling. Shockingly, with the debut of who? Odyssey Jones, who, reminded the world who the hell he is by sidewalk slamming the two giants of the Final Testament. So they're being used. There's clearly a future outlook for them in further storylines with the addition of Odyssey Jones. They feel fresh and reinvigorated because of the addition of Odyssey Jones, and there's clearly some infighting story that's about to be told between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Again, they're very far from the tag team titles as is, because as I said earlier, it seems like the tag titles are once again being used to elevate existing main event storylines as opposed to being used to help prop up the tag team division, which was the reason why we wanted them to be split in the first place, to help grow the tag team division. Hasn't been the case since. So I'm going to put them right alongside the Final Testament into the good category.
Batista powerbombs him here, right? Yep, he breaks his neck.
Oh my God. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! That was right under the chin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Triple H did it. Oh.
That was a sneak preview of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week with the Match Club, you're going to be getting a blow-up doll versus Kota Ibushi. You're going to get the mega match of John Cena versus Batista at SummerSlam 08. We're looking at the incredibly dangerous Ultimate X match from 2009 TNA, alongside a hidden Ring of Honor gem between Shinsuke Nakamura and Kevin Steen, and a 3-on-1 handicap between all three members of The Shield versus CM Punk. This week, you're going to be getting all 5 of those watch-alongs alongside the podcast 3 days early, the Raw reviews, and the SmackDown review, and more. And you can get all of this content over on the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. This is all extra content that never appears on the YouTube channel because, frankly, it can't ever appear on the YouTube channel. So again, go check it out. It'll be the top link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. I think that if you even just give the Patreon 1 month, that you're gonna fall in love with. I actually upload more on the Patreon than I do on the YouTube, which is kind of crazy to think about considering I upload daily here. All right, that's it for the sellout. Go check it out. Back to the video. Let's look at Imperium. Yeah, believe it or not, internally, they are still being listed as a team, even though they rarely come out together. When they do come out together, it's just so that Ludwig Kaiser could rizz up Gunther and tell us how good and amazing he is. But we haven't seen them tag team in, I literally cannot remember the last time that they tag teamed. And Giovanni Vinci has been out of the picture, so it's not as if Ludwig Kaiser has been tag teaming away from Gunther. He's also in his own singles run. So I guess Imperium is almost by default trash because they're not being used as a tag team at all. Individually, my goodness, like they are fantastic, but as a tag team, again, remember when I said some I debate their existence at all? This is one of them. I feel like they're just single stars now, and they're just homies. That's really all it is. Let's look at Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, a tag team that frankly has been used really, really well to bring eyeballs and attention to a division that desperately needed them in the women's tag team division. If it wasn't for Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, in my opinion, I don't think the tag titles appear on WrestleMania. They don't appear on Backlash. They don't appear at King and Queen of the Ring. They don't appear at, wait, did they appear at King and Queen of the Ring? Now I don't even remember, but I know that they appeared in Clash of the Castle. So because of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill's star power as individuals and them coming together as a tag team, which hasn't been like a one and done, like they've been like a tag team for the better part of a half a year at this point, I have to rank them really, really highly. Again, they are the reason why the women's tag team division is getting attention. I think a lot of people are going to question this, but think about it. Every single time that they are on screen, they are in debate for closing the show. They are single-handedly propelling that tag team division into PLE moments, and they're bringing a ton of eyeballs to the division, and they're being booked really strong within that division. Again, we're talking about in the moment. I have to put them into Hall of Fame, and I feel like that's going to lead to a lot of anger and discussion, but this is what this is about. I think I'm in the right here, but I'm willing to be convinced otherwise. Go ahead, comments. Sticking with the women's division, let's look at the way Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae barely being used. When they do get used, they just get squashed. So this one's quick. I'm going into the trash bin, sadly. Let's look at the team of The Miz and R-Truth, who won the tag titles miraculously at WrestleMania. People were excited about it, but it never really got to those peaks of excitement after WrestleMania. It really kept waning down and waning down and waning down. And it seems like their star power as a tag team and the booking of their tag team continues to go down alongside it. They were, I guess, the hosts of SummerSlam, so that was pretty cool. But when it comes to the tag team division, it seems like the train has unfortunately left Team Awesome Truth. I'm going to go into the meh category. I'm realizing I accidentally put them in good. Meh. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, they recently lost their tag titles, and up until then, they were appearing on every single episode of Friday Night SmackDown. They were like the only tag team that was getting any sort of shine, any sort of screen time. Right now, it does sort of feel like they might be a bit directionless appearing on Monday Night Raw. There's rumors that they've been traded to Monday Night Raw before this video. We will see. It does seem like they're kind of scrambling to figure out what to do with these guys. They're not ready to let them go out as singles, it seems. There is clearly a storyline happening internally where a lot of people are anticipating the babyface of Austin Theory. So creatively, there's something actually of substance happening with them, and they've been in the tag team title picture. So I have to put them into the great category in terms of how they've been used recently. Pretty Deadly. I love Pretty Deadly. They're one of my favorite tag teams, but they're not being really treated as such. I do think that their booking and the story that they're telling with them trying to desperately get this storyline of the Pretty Deadly, the musical, is pretty on point, but it's not leading to anything of substance for them, and it's not leading to really anything in ring either, and they are leagues away from the tag titles now that the Bloodline has them. I have to kind of put them alongside these teams here with the Miz and R-Truth and the Street Profits, so we're gonna go meh. Let's go back to the women's and let's look at the Party Girls, KC2. In my opinion, they are, in terms of talent, the best tag team in the division. In terms of how they're being booked and being used, it doesn't necessarily translate to that as well. I will say, in the last several weeks, I'd say the last 4 episodes of Monday Night Raw, they've been appearing regularly alongside and feuding with Sonya Deville in that group, Damage Control, partnering up with Lyra Valkyria. But I have to admit, they do feel, at least story-wise, like a forgotten thought compared to those teams, because they seem to be getting the bulk of the attention in terms of narrative. But they are always the one that impress me the most from an in-ring perspective. I am going to put them into the good category because I do think when I compare them to those that are in the meh category, there's more going on with the Party Girls right now in terms of booking and storylines and TV time. Let's look at the Unholy Union, your current WWE Women's Tag Champions, and they've been truly fantastic. They've been getting storylines not just on Raw, SmackDown, but even storylines on NXT, as they just defended their tag titles at the Great American Bash. They recently defended their tag titles against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. They recently maybe just added a new team member in Blair Davenport. Holy shit, we should just call them the Blair Witch Project. I know the trademark probably won't allow that, but come on, it's right there. The Blair Witch Project, just call them that. Look, they've been used really, really well. They've been booked strong. They've been winning. I can't not put them into the Hall of Fame category. I'm right there alongside Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill in terms of their recent booking on TV. The Bloodline. The Bloodline also, by default, has to go into the Hall of Fame category. I mean, they just won the tag titles. Their team and their faction just main evented SummerSlam. Roman Reigns is coming back, so you know that them as a team and as tag champions are going to be part of every main event that you could possibly conceive of, whether it's SmackDown or any PLE that you could possibly think of. Like, they're going to be on the top of every card that they're a part of. And alongside that comes the tag team of Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga. Maybe Jacob Fatu is hurt. Now you can insert Mr. Eye Patch, Tonga Loa. Either way, the attention is going to be on them as a faction and by default on them as a team and as tag team champions. Hall of Fame in terms of their booking. And hell, while we're at it, why don't we just also do the Judgment Day and also put them into the Hall of Fame category? You know what's funny? I probably wouldn't have had them up here 3 weeks ago when they were just sort of floundering as tag champions, but now with Finn Balor consolidating this new group, kicking out Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, this is like maybe the hottest heel faction in all of WWE, maybe the hottest heel faction in all of wrestling. And they have the tag titles. They're going to be the main event of Raw every single week, most likely, if not the opening segment. They're going to be on PLEs representing with those tag titles. So it goes into the Hall of Fame. And I guess by default, you always have to put these into the Hall of Fame when you have these main event factions carrying tag team gold, even though they're not defending it into the tag team division because of the attention that they get by default. Let's look at Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews. I've been enjoying these two together. I've been enjoying their backstage segments. I've been enjoying their matches. I've been enjoying their unique moveset that they decided to bring to the table, especially when Apollo Crews chucks Baron Corbin over the top rope. It's good stuff. And I think they're both great workers. Baron Corbin really helps anchor this team as a great mouthpiece for both of them because he's so great on the mic and as a storyteller. I'm going to put them into the good category. Sticking with the women, let's look at Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. They're still being listed as a team as far as I could tell, but they are not being used as a team, kind of like Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. It does seem like it's just a matter of convenience when they decide to have them together or not. I'm going to go tops meh, because when they are together, at least they're super entertaining, but their booking recently as a tag team has definitely left a lot to be desired. You know what? I'm kind of changing my mind. I'm going to go down to trash because I'm thinking of like the last 2 months worth of SmackDown since Clash at the Castle, and they've not been a tag team. So I have to go into trash. Again, I love them individually. I think that they're great, but as a tag team, they're not really providing much value to the women's tag team division as is. DIY. I'm going to put DIY into the great category. It does hurt that they won the tag titles, lost the tag titles, and in my opinion, they were a little bit disrespected as tag champions and really not being given the opportunity to get any sort of storyline off the ground running. And if you had a team that could get an interesting tag team related storyline off the ground running, it was DIY. And once again, they just sort of reverted to the comfortable of putting the tag titles on a major top faction that's already in the main event. It sucks. I'm sure that we will get to revisit this in the future, but for now, I am going to put them into the great category because of how great their sets of matches have been, the fact that they've been on several main events, on the go home episode of Money in the Bank, go home episode of SummerSlam, winning, losing against, top teams. I got to put them into the great category because at the very least, they're used on a regular basis as well. Legado del Fantasma, I'd put them above the LWO, but really not that much higher. I'm going to go into the meh category. It does sort of feel like they are the jobber faction right now on SmackDown, which kind of sucks considering they had so much momentum. And Santos Escobar himself had a ton of momentum in late 2023 with the awesome heel turn with Rey Mysterio, but it does sort of feel like this faction needed to be alongside the LWO in this like fight forever, hate each other forever type of storyline. But now that they're separated, the motivations of Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma as a whole just feel a lot more directionless right now. Meh. Good Brothers are still in WWE, but at the very least, they're being used every single week on NXT. They're entertaining with their backstage segments. They're really being used to help teach and elevate the young talent of NXT. I'm going to put them into the meh category. I think it would be completely just wrong to put them into trash. It's meh because even in NXT, they are just not the focal point of the tag team division. They're losing all the time. But again, they're there every single week helping put over the young talent of NXT. I have to give them props for that. The team of Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark. You guys have a lot of nicknames for them, nicknames that I don't think are appropriate for YouTube. So you guys can come up with your headcanon of names for this faction. But look, I don't love them. I find them to be regularly the most boring part of Monday Night Raw. But that is my opinion. That is entirely subjective. Are they being used well? I would say so. They're there every single week. They get multiple segments on Monday Night Raw, usually like 3 to 4, whether it's multiple matches between different variations of the faction, and then a couple of backstage segments. So there's a lot of emphasis on this group, and they're trying. It's just, for me personally, it's not landing, but I'm sure it's landing for somebody. But if we're talking booking, if we're talking usage, if we're talking really their relevance overall right now in the WWE, I have to put it into the good category. Now let's look at Damage Control, who recently just came back. They were on hiatus, but really they're kind of in the same boat right now as Sonya Deville's group, where they get multiple segments throughout the night. Io Sky is still a fantastic worker. The thing I will say is at least Sonya Deville's group has an identifiable tag team that's being used as a tag team on a regular basis, that being Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and their motivations are tag team gold. They've been very clear and obvious about that. Damage Control hasn't actually really been the case. With Asuka being down, they don't really have the tag team, right? They don't really have the two women that are like motivated and focused on tag team glory. I'm sure that they'll still come up with a combination of the two. It's just less clear and obvious as it was in the past. I still think it's good the way that they've been using them because they still are very much a relevant part of Monday Night Raw. They just turned babyface too, so there's a lot of room for growth in terms of how they're going to be used within the division. And last but not least, the Wyatt Six, and their presentation has been amazing. Their usage ever since debuting after Clash of the Castle has been fantastic. Have they only had one match? Yes, but it doesn't matter because they are the talk of the town. People want to see Wyatt Six segments. People are enthralled by everything that they're doing. People want to know, who are they going to go after next? People are trying to connect dots that might not even be there, but that's the excitement of a group like the Wyatt Six. They are Hall of Fame in terms of how they're being used today. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this video. This is your chance to agree or disagree in the comments, but that's it. Okay, I'm done. Okay, get out of here. Bye.